morning to you all children. Chandani Views welcomes you all for the online class. Subject Science. Science is about to study about the environment and the organisms that takes place in the environment, the life of humans, animals and plants. Unit number 1 and the topic is plants life. Hi everyone, how are you? Hope you are fine. My name is Pine Tree. You have seen me in the hilly regions. Today I came to Chandani Views to say a story for you. Okay, let me tell you a story now. The name of the story is Plants Life in the Forest. I am living in a forest. There are many types of plants which lives along with me. Now I will tell you the plants. First, I will tell about the habitats and the adaptations. Plants, habitats and adaptations. Habitats is nothing but it's all about the characteristics of the plant, and adaptation is about whether the plants can able to adjust themselves to grow in an environment that they used to grow. An environment contains different types of climates, different types of weather conditions and different types of plants. So, plants need to live in different surroundings. As we have different types of climatic changes, seasonal changes and environmental changes, the plant has to adjust themselves to the environment they used to grow. Such type of adjustments are known as adaptation. They have to adjust them according to the conditions of the environment. This process of adjustment is called adaptation. I adapt and live in this environment like you friends. I have certain characteristics like you. I will tell you one by one. Characteristics of plants. Each and every living organism that lives in the earth has its own characteristics. Likewise, here comes the characteristics of the plants which helps them to live in this environment. First comes the characteristic that is growth. Growth is an essential one for each and every organism that lives on the earth. Without growth, it can't be live and it can't be sustained for a long time. So growth is important for each and every organisms as well as for the plants. For example, if you are placing a sibling and watering it day by day and nourishing the sibling, one day it will become a tree within a month or within a year. This refers to the growth of the plants. So the first and foremost characteristics of the plants is growth. Second comes feel, which means it is able to feel the climate where it is growing, and it also feels the touch of the other living organisms. It also feels its own growth and development by each stage. Next, breathe. Breathe is the very important and essential thing of the characters for each and every living organisms that has its own, that lives in the environment differs. Whereas the plants used to breathe through the stomata that present in the leaf, which used to inhale and exhale the air throughout the parts of the plant. While inhaling, the plants used to inhale the carbon dioxide and it exhales the oxygen outside. Response to stimuli. Here, stimuli states that change in the state of activity. That is, we have a different climatic changes and weather conditions. So the plant have to stimulate itself to the respond of the changes that they faces daily. Reproduce. Each and every organisms that lives in our surrounding will used to do reproduction to be stay in this earth for a long years. Likewise, plants used to reproduce their own in two types, that is sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Excrete. Excrete is nothing but it refers to eliminates the waste from the plant body. So excrete is also the essential character of the plants to overcome their waste. So the main characteristics of plants are to grow, to feel, to breathe, respond to stimuli, to reproduce and to excrete. We are interdependent. My surrounding named me as a terrestrial plant. My friend Barbie will tell you the classification of plants. Now it's your turn, Barbie. Thank you, Pine Tree. Hi, my name is Barbie. I'm studying in Chandni Views. I'm going to tell about the classification of the plants. Classification of plants. There are two types. One is terrestrial plants, that is the plants that used to grow on lands. And the second one is aquatic plants. Aquatic plants are plants that used to grow in a water. Terrestrial plants. As I have told you before, terrestrial plants are the plants that used to grow in a soil-based area or the well-placed land. The plants which grow on land area are called terrestrial plants. There are different types of terrestrial plants which can grow in different places because we have different types of land culture. Classification of terrestrial plants. Plants in hilly regions, which refers to the mountains or the hill stations. That is, these areas will be present in the upper part of the earth. That is, it will be available in a peak. So the plants that are able to grow in the hilly region with cold is known as the plants that grows in hilly areas. Plants in plains, where plains refers to the smooth and normal land structure. Plants grow in hot and damp places. You know that hot means it refers to heatness and damp means it refers to the wetness. The plants that can grow in both the hot and wet, that is damp places. For example, the plants that grows on the seashore are example for the damp and hot places. Desert plants. Desert means it is the place with dry areas. Only the soil is available there. And those plants that are grown in these areas are known as desert plants. Next comes plants grow in marshy areas. Marshy refers to the place that is more squish, wet and smooth. That is nothing but there will be always a water constant and the soil in the marshy areas will be like a clay. Let's start with plants in hilly areas where pine tree is located. Plants in hilly areas. As I have told you before, the plants that grows on a mountain or hill stations in a cold region are known as plants grow in hilly areas. Pine tree, fir, cedar, Cypress, etc. These are all the common examples of the hilly plants. These type of plants can only grow in the hilly region with the cold climate. Pine tree have leaves throughout the year. The pine trees can produce the leaves for an year and more than a year. Always there will be a leaves in the pine trees. The pine trees was used to make papers. They are called as evergreen trees as it has the leaves always in their body structure. The pine trees are called as evergreen trees because the leaves that will be in a trees will always in a color of green. So these are the pine trees and the structure. See children, the pine tree will be always with the leaves. That's why it is referred as a evergreen trees. Pine tree, are you an evergreen tree? Yes, Barbie, I'm an evergreen tree and I have a leaves throughout the years. Okay, pine tree, now tell me about your friends, plants in plains. Will you tell me? Sure, Barbie, I will tell you. Barbie, do you know about mango, banyan, neem trees? No, I don't know about those trees. Can you tell about them? Sure, I will tell. Plants in plains. I have told you before, the plants that can grow in a smooth and a straight surface is known as plains. In plains, there are some trees like mango, piapple, banyan, pallas, shizam, babul, neem, sal, etc. where grows in these plain areas. See children, these are the trees that can grow in a plain areas. First one is banyan tree and the next comes the mango tree. Mango, banyan, neem are the trees that grow in plains. Have you seen it before, friends? Pine tree, I have already seen those trees nearby my house. Really? Nice. Do you have seen coconut, rubber, sugarcane plants? Barbie? No, I didn't. Don't worry, let me tell you and show you those trees. Barbie, have you seen the rubber tree? Yes. How is it now? I will show you the hot and damp plants. Really? I'm so excited to see it. Plants grow in the hot and damp places. Hot and damp places refers to the climate that is always produces heat and wetness together. Coconut and tea grow in hot and wet places because these plants can tolerate both the hotness and wetness in the same time. Rubber, sugarcane, pepper, rice, cotton are some examples that grow in such places. So the first is a cotton tree, second is a rubber tree. These trees can able to stimulate to both the hot and wetness climate. Really, pine tree? Is there any other trees like you in the forest? Can you tell me? Sure, Bobby. Some plants grow in desert places. Desert plants. The plants that grow in a very dry and soily region is known as desert plant. Cactus and prickly pear do not have their leaves. It only has a stem-like structure. But they can reduce into spines. There will be a spines in the cactus and prickly tree with a stem-shaped structure. These are the plants that can grow in a dry region. Pine tree, do you know one thing I knew about mangrove tree? Is it? Then tell them, Barbie. Okay friends, all are ready to listen? Plants grow in marshy area. Marshy area refers to the area which is squish, wet and smooth. That is, the area will be like a clayey substance. The trees that grow in wet clay soil are called as mangrove trees. For example, the trees that can be able to grow in a seashore. The roots will be grow above the ground. In the marshy areas, the plants that grows, their roots are visible to us because the root will not go under the ground. It will be above the ground. Very interesting, Bobby. Now we can learn about aquatic plants. Is it? Oh, I'm eagerly waiting for that. Who is going to tell about aquatic plants? Water lily will tell them. Yes, I'm ready to tell them. Are you ready to tell us? Hi friends. Water lily, tell about you and your friends. Now we can see about the aquatic plants. Aquatic plants are the plants that grows in a water area that are known as aquatic plants. The plants that grow in water are called as aquatic plants. Kinds of aquatic plants. So there are three types of aquatic plants. They are floating plants, that is, the plants that used to float on the surface of the water bodies and that are visible to our eyes. Fixed plants. Fixed plants are the plants that used to float on the water, but its roots will be deeply stuck into the inside of the water. That is, it touches the ground level. Next, underwater plants. Underwater plants are the plants that used to grow under the water. These kind of plants can't see above the water level. It will only be in the underwater region. Which kind of aquatic plant are you, Lily? I will tell you. Floating plants. I have already told you floating plants are the plants that used to float on the water surface and it will be visible to our eyes that floats above the water. These plants have light spongy or swollen pods. So, as the plants are floating on a water, the body structure of the plant will be spongy and swollen, which used to move the plant above the water. They float freely on the surface of the water. So, without any disturbance, it can move and float on the water. Duckweed and water hectic are the examples of floating plants. These plants have the spongy surface body structure and it cannot be get inside the water. Now it's my time to say about myself. Fixed plants. Fixed plants are the plants that grows in the water, and it also the one of the type of aquatic plants. The plant will be outside the water, but its root will be deepened inside the ground. Yes, water lily is the example of fixed plants. The lily will be available and visible to our eyes that it floats on the water, but the stem of the leaf lily will be fixed to the ground surface. They have long hollow stems and broad waxy coated leaf. The waxy coated leaves helps the lily to float on the water. These leaves float on the surface of the water. Nice, Lily. I saw some plants in the water. Tell me about them too. Lily? Yes, sure, Barbie. Underwater plants. Plants like Hydrilla, Valsneria have ribbon-like leaves with no stomata, but they breathe through the body surface. We have studied already that the plants can breathe with the help of stomata, but in the underwater plants there will be no stomata. It will be breathing through the help of the body structure, and the underwater plants will looks like a ribbon in structure. Their roots are fixed. Some unusual plants are also grown in the forest. Tell me about them, pine tree. Interesting. Please tell me about them, pine tree. Of course, Lily and Barbie. Unusual plants. Usually, the plants that grow in our environment. It may be a terrestrial plant or an aquatic plant. The color will be in green because of the presence of chlorophyll in the plants. The chlorophyll in the plant's leaf gives the color green to all the trees and plants. But in unusual plants, there is an absence of chlorophyll. That is, the usual color of green will not appear in those trees. Instead, there will be a red color. Some non-green plants like modules and mushrooms do not have chlorophyll. See this picture, children. Here the mushroom is in white color. That is, there is no chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the substance which gives green color to the leaves. They cannot make their food. Only it depends on the other plants for food. Insectivorous plants, which means the plants that eats the insects that has been placed in their own body. For example, Venus flytrap. This Venus flytrap, the too thin layer will be opened. The too thin leaves will be opened always. But when the insect comes and sits in between the leaf, it automatically closes its leaf and chew the insect. And pitcher plant, it is also like the same type. When the insect comes and sits in the leaf, it closes their own leaves and eats the insects. The plants which eats the insect and make the insect as their own food is known as insectivorous plants. Yes, the plants which you have said will eat the insects. Yes, they can eat the insects. I have said you one thing in earlier classes. Do you remember? What is that, pine tree? That is, we are interdependent. Yes, I remember. Because we get food from the plants. I will explain it. Energy flow in living things. Plants uses the sun's energy along with carbon dioxide to make their food. The food prepared by plants will be eaten by the animals and also by the human beings, as we are taking the plants, fruits, vegetables that obtained from the trees as a food. Here, the plant will produce a food by the usage of sun's rays and the carbon dioxide that it gets into it. While we are eating those foods or vegetables from those trees or plants, we used to gain a energy. So we are depending on plants and plants are depending on nature. This is known as an interdependent relationship. Thank you Pine Tree and Lily for explaining about the plant's life. Welcome, we are your friends Barbie. Do you have any doubt in the plant's life? If yes, ask us Bobby. No doubts in plant's life. I enjoyed the class very much. Hope you were also enjoyed. Bye friends, have a great day. Bye, have a wonderful day. Bye friends, have a pleasant day. Thank you children for kindly listening to our classes Plant Life. Thank you all. Be healthy and be safe at your home. Bye.